What's up, man?
Hey, not too
How are
much, brother.
you?
Hey, good.
Good to see you again.
Hey, happy to be on the show. I'm happy to be
Still in
dignified.
law? Yeah, you still in law school? Going to
Yeah.
law school?
hmm
That's good. That's good. Okay, cool. Well, let me just get some information pulled up here. 1 second. Okay. So running for Congress this time?
Yes, sir. If we even have an election, I want to see if we can even make it to the ballot box, you know?
Yeah, a lot of crazy. I gotta tell you, our conversation last year, man, it threw me for a loop, and I went into like this rabbit hole of research,
As you
and I
should.
yeah, and I came out on the other side of full-fledged MAGA.
I mean, you will. I mean, look, all Trump's doing is embodying, he's just the beachhead. He's
Yeah,
this, it's not that like I'm obsessed with Trump per se. It would be any person. It's just, I mean, if you want it's two schools of thought, two ethoses, two energies, just we're at a crossroads, and that's if we can even have this election.
hmm yeah. There's a lot of powers that be that make it seem like we won't, but we could get into those if you like, or
Look, this is
really
your
just
show. I don't want anything. I want what's best for you.
no. This is for you to use on your campaign.
Well, sure, but I mean, you're the one extending me the courtesy, so I don't want to call too many shots. You do however the hell you want to do it, and I'm gonna, I like everything to be completely candid on the fly. So
Yeah.
even if you want to make it hard for me, man, I'm down for it.
Yeah, you said that last time too. I might have actually be able to arm myself with some challenges from the left side because I have a lot of those pre-planned arguments that they have.
Well, then hit me with that. Let's not do any softball.
Okay, cool. So then I'm ready to go if you are.
Oh, brother, I was born ready.
Okay, so I'll introduce myself, pass it on to you, and then we'll go from there. So conversation style, about 30 minutes, just like last time. Cool?
Whatever you want, brother.
Cool, sounds good. Welcome everybody to another episode of Political Lens. My name's Karthik. I'm the host of the show. Today I have a guest for you, a returning guest, Mr. Zan John. We had him on the show last year. He was running for governor.
Yes,
and
sir.
This year he's running for Congress. Could you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Yes,
why
of
you're running,
course.
sir?
Yeah. So as you heard, my name is Zan John, and I'm running for Louisiana's 3rd district, and hopefully we can even have an election this November 5th.
Awesome. So it's my understanding that you're running against Mr. Clay Higgins. Is that right?
Listen, Clay Higgins is on fire. I like the guy. I mean, as far as a politician goes, I mean, he's up there with MTG, Trump, the whole shebang. I'm running because God forbid we had any backup. If anything ever happens to him, and Clay can't be the only patriot, the only person that's standing up doing something. And another thing I wanted to bounce off people, and this isn't a slant against Clay. None of this. I have no problem with Clay. I'm simply saying Clay could have never gotten to where he was with this overlay of censorship since 2020 because of, his clip went viral. Remember? He was holding the gun with all the cops. Imagine that going viral with all the shadow banning and all the different algorithms. Like, I'm very happy for Clay, but he could never repeat that again with this, censorship overlay. I feel I'm going out on a limb saying that. And, so that level of dynamacy is, I feel, forever gone unless we're able to take this country back rightfully and justly this election cycle.
Okay, yeah. So you touched on something very important there, and I think voters are going to want to know.
Sure.
Is that you're actually an ally of Mr. Clay Higgins, even though you're.
Yes, look, I simply want to be on the right side of history as well. I know I embody a lot of people's yearning. Luckily, we live in a district, or the people, I'm speaking on the behalf of all the constituents of District 3 in Louisiana. We luckily live in an area where we have, one would say, good representation. But God forbid he didn't run, or God forbid something happened to him, or God forbid there was an accident. I simply want to empower others. Even though we're lucky to have Clay running, I don't take that for granted. And just because he's on fire right now doesn't mean that other people shouldn't step up and just reinforce and just push forward, like I use this analogy, this beachhead of liberty and freedom. And just because he's running doesn't mean we all have to sit out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you just described embodies the essence, the spirit of the Republic of the United States.
Yes.
Which is if you believe in something and you want to represent the people who are clamoring for a deeper yearning for, like you said, you speak on behalf of the people who are yearning for.
Well, this country was built by people standing up, not sitting back. Otherwise, we wouldn't know of this America that you and I are dwelling in today. So
yeah. So okay. So there's a couple points that
yeah,
I kind of want to get into.
Let's
First
do it.
of all, you're running into you're running for Congress, which
Yes.
is obviously a federal position.
Yes.
I believe you were based on running for governor last year.
Yes.
Kind of different race. So, what are some points that you believe make you qualified to sit in the House of Representatives as a member?
There's a whole bunch, and let me just put it to you like this: with compared to all, let's just say 95% of the people in Congress, how am I not qualified? And I'm not trying to answer your question with another question or give you some no answer. I'm simply saying add up the sum of all the compromised people. You get what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, look, we could get a child with autism as long as they made the age requirement and could string together a complete sentence, and they're already leaps and bounds ahead of the squad, as they call it. So I feel I'm more than overqualified. I feel that Clay is more than overqualified, given the people we have there that will simply vote against this nation's best interest in 2 seconds.
So that you just mentioned a very good point. Though there are people in Congress, whether it's some may believe it's the squad, there may be some on the right as well, depending on who you are in this country. You may have some different opinions about who is disqualified and who's not, who is. There are people who believe and have elected those members in the squad. So how would you kind of work together in tandem with the American people and make sure you portray what's best for everybody, even the people who elected the people that you mentioned?
So hold on, you mentioned 2 things that I want to unscramble that I pretty much disagree with, because I think you're running over something. So your question was, say your question again?
Yeah, so you gave the example that some people, let's just say the squad.
Wait, here we go. I got it. It just came back. So you say that we're representing, everyone here has been elected. Listen, a lot of these people have been selected, and a lot of these places, a lot of these representatives are coming from these blue hellholes funded by George Soros. So a lot of these people, I want you to tell me, and I'm about to hold your feet to the fire, I'm making you get in this. Is AOC, that lady from New York, do you truly think she had the wherewithal to get to Congress by herself if she wasn't funded by some sort of occultist billionaire? Truly. She was a barista. She was a barista. So a lot of these people are selected because they're a useful idiot. A John Fetterman, he actually won against Dr. Oz, who we all know was there just to run against and then lose last minute. But I mean, John Fetterman, I mean, we see his body doubles. We know that the CIA is completely hacked into his mind. He's a warm husk that is used to set a precedent that if this guy can make it, we can prop up any puppet. And secondly, you want to say work in tandem? There's no working with these people that aren't for America. There's no compromises before this election if we can have it. If we can have this election and it is just, there's no working with the left. They have nothing of value to bring to a nation that should remain sovereign and should adhere to the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights. And another point I want to make is, do you know why the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights are in the United States archives? Because they're considered obsolete. A lot of things that fall below the threshold of these patriots and these people that want to be free and are out working hard, paying taxes. This election means everything. It needs to be a just election, and the people that go out and vote, that bring their voter ID, need to have their will dignified.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for touching on those, and thanks for challenging the narrative a little bit, because I kind of want to go deeper into that.
Please.
As a person who has interviewed countless candidates.
Sure, nothing's off limits. I need to be the guy at the very end of your spectrum to where nothing is preconceived, off limits. Don't care if you insult me. Let's just get to the truth.
Yeah, so I appreciate you for being willing to do that. So I've spoken to actually a few people in the Democrats' side that are running for Congress, and I have reason to believe that they believe that they're doing the right thing. And in fact, I don't see any ill will from them.
No, there's tons of artificial feedback. Where can you? I mean, with censorship and shadow banning and all this DEI, you have to have all these sympathy points to get moved up in the corporate world. You get what I'm saying? We don't live in a meritocracy anymore, and we have substantial censorship, shadow banning algorithms that concentric ring is constantly tightening. What was allowed last month, YouTube is banning. I mean, did you see Google, how they are banned any sort of, they did this crazy update that had a lot of people up in arms. They did hold up, I think I printed it out. Look what I have here. Inappropriate content policy. They are updating all these terms. I want everyone to look into this kind of stuff. I don't make it up. They are not going to allow Trump anywhere near the White House. They're not going to allow any sort of positive grassroots conservative movement without it being sabotaged, censored, and downplotted. So these Democrats that do have probably a heart of gold are simply casualties of an information war.
Interesting. Just what you just said, let's stick on that for a second. Just for the voters and for the viewers who have tuned in, the censorship is absolutely real because our channel, in fact, when we had you on last time, you discussed things that so far outside of the Overton window that the video, the raw footage was fine. Like when we actually looked at the raw video file, but when we uploaded it to YouTube, there were random drops, complete skips in audio. The video would just skip past things that you've said, which is very, very, very odd. It's the only video that's ever happened like that. But there was a video we uploaded last year about Texit because we have a good business relationship with the president of Texit. We've had him on our show.
I think Texas should completely secede. Why put up with all this crap? You'll have a great attorney general, a great lieutenant governor. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And they've been calling out that big development north of Houston. I don't want to go off on a jag about that. Let's get back to all the censorship you experienced.
Yeah. So just yesterday or 2 days ago, I got a notification on YouTube that one of our Texit videos got demonetized. So then last year we posted a video of RFK Jr. talking about the pharmaceutical industry and how they pay Fox News. And that video got us a strike on TikTok. So we've been censored. We've been there's certain things outside of the Overton window that there is a concerted effort that doesn't want these things talked about. That is apparent to me because I've seen it and experienced it firsthand.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I want to let you know should this election not happen and or go astray, be rigged again, I want you to know that you, not just people like me, but you for even hosting us, your channel is going to be in jeopardy for expressing views like this. I mean, we're all going down. Anyone who doesn't fight their intellectual instincts, I mean, I might just get hit for it. Might be Donald Trump, couple big fish, and guys like me. But I'm telling you, this system is set up for absolute tyranny. And the reason there's censorship is because, the truth can just bring down a whole group, just a whole web of lies. I mean, we're being fed so much, I love this term, artificial feedback. And what America needs to do right now is reach the term I like to say, escape velocity, to get out of the grasp of this disgusting evil ethos that will literally be the nail in the coffin, the death blow to any sort of sovereign movement, any sort of sovereignty, any sort of self-governance for this whole globe. And the last thing I wanted to say, taking notes from what you said, is I'm glad you speak from experience with censorship, and I can be some sort of test case, this preliminary event. Now you know what you're talking about. And now, especially, let's just say Trump does get in, we can, that's when the work starts. We can start building up all this minutia that is long overdue, but we've had our hands tied behind our back, you're going to be able to use all of this stuff as leverage to get more guests, and you will be on the right side of history. And I commend you for doing what you're doing, but I have to say, you and I are both at risk should the powers that shouldn't be are able to unjustly get the upper hand this November.
Yeah, and thankfully, the videos is just like an extension of our business. It's not really like our main business model.
Well, no, hopefully one day we can look back and laugh at all this. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully one day we can look back at all this and laugh, like kind of like the, 40s, 50s, like, I remember, when there's just open racism and all this crap. I mean, that's I know everyone wants us to think, the left does in terms of black and white and all this stuff, but it's just, I hope it's something we can laugh at one day and tell our grandchildren, like, look, y'all think this is funny, but this was serious back then. People were going to jail for no reason back then.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely some politically motivated jailings that I have seen. especially with, let's talk about Twitter or now X,
Sure.
which Elon Musk has brought. Do you believe that that has kind of opened the door and kind of given a leg forward in the free speech movement?
It has. I don't know enough, so I don't want to comment on all the inner workings of why he did it and all these things. I simply, if I had to guess, gun to my head, he, like many other people, are defecting onto the side of freedom and popularity because they feel that this is the beachhead that is going to come out prevailing. And I don't fault a lot of people for wanting to jump on. I mean, look, who's a person I can't stand? What's her name? She looks like the Raggedy Ann doll, Jean Pierre or whatever. If she wants to all of a sudden, just slap her hand on the podium and go, okay, I'm tired of lying. Let me tell you all the truth. They have me compromised. They want to put me in jail or they're going to kill me if I tell you all this. But if they want to defect to our side, I'll take them. I'll take anyone, And this is the time to do it. This is the time to build the minutia because this is truly all or nothing. I mean, we're facing the craziest fork in the road, and we know that everything is stacked against us. But I will say is their propaganda would be unnecessary if the situation was hopeless.
Okay, so let's set this premise for the next question. The premise is you're bringing things to the table that is really far outside of the Overton window, which...
well, who's determining this Overton window? You keep on identifying this Overton window. The Overton window set by...
Well, I don't know who sets it, but that's the powers that be have said it. But I want to bring this to the voters because I want to help the voters kind of understand where you're coming from and the basis of this. So the Overton window is described as like what's acceptable to talk about and kind of what's not. So what would be like some of the things you would inquire your voters or constituents to start researching so they can kind of get behind what you're saying?
Here's another thing. Look, do they have the time? Do they have the will? Am I just going to sit here and blow hot air? I mean, if a lot of these things that I'm going to tell you are so destabilizing to the average person that it perpetuates the cycle. I mean, people cannot believe that people born in the occult, all this Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, if people knew what happened on the island, I mean, they literally grind up children. They have underground chambers. People don't understand all of that. If people are willing to accept all the bad things, which is good because we need to digest all that to move forward, then perhaps, I mean, I can throw a lot of things at you. I can say, go look up Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Russell Brand, Salty Cracker, Laura Loomer, Phil Schneider, Ted Gunderson, James O'Keefe. I can tell you to go look at all that stuff and then go even deeper, into watching movies like 2000 Mules, America, Freedom to Fascism by Aaron Russo. He was whacked after that movie in 2006. Read a book called Creature from Jeckyl Island. It talks about just the satanic beginnings of our Federal Reserve Bank. That is a private institution, mind you. If people want stuff to research, here's another thing too, though. Now with this nuance of 2020 and this whole pandemic narrative that they use to just further, bring about vertical integration and take more power for themselves, like they did 9/11 in Oklahoma City, is we now have this big tech overlay of censorship. And so people can go look and dig forever on YouTube to find something, about the Federal Reserve. But if they didn't have that bookmarked, I mean, you'll scroll till it just won't let you anymore. So it's a catch-22. And that's why it's so important to speak out now because, look, we're all doomed if the powers that shouldn't be are able to maintain this unjust grasp of power. And they do not intend to let Donald Trump anywhere near the White House. I mean, all the stuff going on now with court and in court, we're setting all these horrible precedents. And then the bad thing, the catch-22 of it is all the Supreme Court doesn't want to rule on all these things because if they rule on the side of America, they're going to have lynch mobs outside the House. They're going to get thrown in the bus with the corporate media, and these people are not built to stand up in that way. They're used to sitting in their chambers and having armed guards and all this stuff and living this cush life, so they don't know what it's like to stand up in that fashion. And also too, if they rule with the side of the left, well, we're going to implode the republic here in less than a year. So I mean, there's a lot of catch-22s. I mean, look, I'd love people to research what happens at underground here in America at Dulce, White Sands. Just the biological experiments that are going on and just there's things that would just blow the normal person's mind. Mm-hmm. So it's tough. There's a lot of things people need to understand and not kid themselves So you're asking a lot. You're asking a lot, and there's so much to unpack with what you're saying. And I hate throwing so much at you, but people are going to have to do so much to overcome this event horizon of just absolute tyranny that's here to stay.
So what actually was my first venture into kind of understanding something was when Elon Musk bought Twitter and he started releasing the Twitter files to Matt Taibbi.
Matt Taibbi, yeah. You saw Matt Taibbi, huge liberal, completely defected to our side. I mean, mind blown. He's like, I can't get over this.
Yeah. So that just reading thread after thread after thread, like I could feel myself questioning everything that I thought I knew. Because if the federal government was so deeply embedded in silencing a certain amount of voices, then that's the very first amendment had been compromised, and there's evidence of that being the case on Twitter. So that's kind of what started my journey into diving more deeper into understanding what is really going on at the deepest level. So
if you don't put up any mental roadblocks and allow this natural progression of research, if you can find it, you will be able to dig up things and look into things that are just so, I don't know. Here's the bad thing is we can't relate with the enemy. You and I weren't born into the occult. Your last name isn't Rockefeller, Dow, DuPont. You weren't dressed in the opposite sex and sodomized and beaten and made to wear a robe and all this stuff. People, you want to look into stuff, look into Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, all the metaphors and symbolism in that movie. I mean, that was a glimpse into what these people do. The Epstein client list, what happens on Epstein Island, the reason why they want children so bad. I mean, there's reasons for all this. People don't think in terms of the occult and just numbers and symbols, but these people, they believe in it, and they do certain things on certain days. I mean, there's a reason 9/11 happened on the day it did. That's a big, victory for the occult. They use a completely different calendar. And if people want to, here's a beautiful segue. If you take away one thing today, everyone needs to research the guy out of Tucson, Arizona. His name is The Greek, and he runs Uncommon Radio and does a show called Ochelli and the Greek. And this guy touches on everything that people need to know: how to cure cancer, how this nation was truly formed, all about the U.S. codes, just the inner workings. And it's like trying to sip through a fire hose. And if anyone looks into this guy, the Greek, and listens to what he has to say at Ochelli and the Greek, where you can find it on SoundCloud and all this stuff, it's truly going to make you a better person. But also too, you need to hurry up and learn, because I mean, November 5th, that's our last chance at trying to take this nation back. It really is. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, if there was going to be, I tell people this all the time, if there was going to be a peaceful transition of power, it would have been in 2020 when Trump won the second time. You get what I'm saying? So don't kid yourself. We're not going to have it any easier. Trump only won and was able to give us 4 years of what it's like under a normal presidency, where the president can actually be the president in 2016, because of the hubris and bravada and the out of touchness of the left, which they still are out of touch, but now they know they need to cheat and do every single thing possible to maintain their power. So they have a huge problem on their hands. Is Trump embodies the beachhead of people that they are actively trying to suppress, that could reverse all of this and send them running and packing, if not, committing suicide. But also, too, America has had 4 years, the world has had 4 years of America under Trump. They know what it's like to have, lower inflation and the dollar strengthened, and, just all these things that Trump was able to bring us. So they have a huge problem on their hands. But I will say, these people, the powers that shouldn't be, they're cornered rats. They're shameless, and nothing is off the table. Not nuclear war, not just rounding up every person they would consider a dissident. Nothing is off the table. So we're going to see something the likes of which this nation has never seen. And really, it's going to become a game of who wants it more, you and I, or the left.
So you bring up an interesting point, and I think there's going to be every step of the way. Let's say you are the nominee for November. Let's say you make it past the primary and people are going to decide on voting for you or the Democrat opponent. You're in a Republican area, so you would most likely get...
Anyone America First is a moot point if Trump isn't there above us on this pyramid of power. It doesn't matter. I mean, it would all be some sort of reactive, not proactive. I mean, look, what can you and I do besides do these talk shows and try and spread, the message, which is going to be actively suppressed and censored. What can we do other than show up and vote for the rightful candidate, someone like Trump, and then, subsequently America First candidates like such as I. But I mean, if Trump's not there to be the shield, and us backing him, there's no point. There's no point. Everything is a moot point. And I mean, I'll tell everyone right now, I'll be frank with you, I'm going to have to leave this country. I mean, I'm going to be rounded up. I'm going to be, labeled, all these buzzwords they have, a domestic extremist, white supremacist. I mean, all these things, they toss around these words. I mean, we're going to be labeled that, and people need to understand and snap out of this normalcy bias.
Okay. So, yeah, we had Trump in 2016 to 2020. There was everybody fighting him tooth and nail. So let's say even if he does get in,
that's when the work starts. That's when, okay, now we really have to maintain this. This election, should we be able to have it, is simply getting the opportunity to start the work to fix this nation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so basically the question that I was trying to formulate is, okay, let's assume that Trump is the president.
Sure.
And you were to be elected into the House of Representatives in your district. There's still...
So, yeah, best case scenario, yeah.
There's still a whole host of people who would be very much triggered by the words that you're saying.
Look, Obama, who's this is his third term, they're going to start all these wars. They're going to activate. I mean, why do you think they're flooding this nation? They're actively bracing for that. They understand that that's a possibility. They understand that now, after Iowa and all these things, they understand, okay, if we can't stop this election, and no matter how much we cheat, I'm telling you, they have plan A through Z, and then starts with the numeric, alphanumeric. I'm telling you, they are ready. They're like, oh, okay, Trump's in office. Okay, great. Let's send this plane down. Let's unleash Antifa. Let's get all these people that we have at UN re-education camps that are crossing the border illegally. Let's get them all to just, they have so much stuff to fight and nullify any good that he can do. So.
You just touched on something very interesting, because I just saw a couple posts on Twitter earlier, and there's a lot of left-wing pundits who are kind of hopping on this. People are saying that there's not really anybody crossing the border, and this whole theatrics and Governor Abbott's just playing politics.
That's fine, but there's live cameras right now. If you just know what subscriptions to people to look into. I mean, Alex Jones is every day. He has people over there on the border, and they stream live. They talk to the guard out there as children, these guys are tearing up, and they're just following orders, handing children to guys pulling up in vans, and just, it's the sickest thing to sit and even dignify what you're relaying to me. I don't want to say what you're saying, because I mean no insult. It's people that either the cognitive dissonance is real, they can't accept these kinds of horrors happening, but all they got to do is, I don't respect people that don't speak from experience. Those people are not watching the live cams out there and seeing all the people, all the burn barrels of all the military age Chinese men that are throwing their IDs, and all of the clothes and stuff after people cross the river, the Rio Grande. They have their dry clothes, and they're just miles and miles of stuff. It's disgusting what's happening out there. So to even dignify that point would be an injustice towards logic.
Yeah, and I can just logically, I went to Governor Abbott's event last week. It wasn't his event. He was actually endorsing another.
I understand, yeah.
And he spoke. He said that based on the context of the way he framed it, it makes a lot of sense to me why these people are saying that there's nobody crossing. Because what he said is they obviously put up a wall. They put a wall, they put a border razor wire. And before he did all that, there were thousands of people crossing. And just on a single day last week, there were 4 people, and all 4 of them were apprehended.
Karthik, I want you to look. Can you honestly say that Abbott was not rolled to the edge of some sort of balcony or building and told, you better do this, you better vote this way, you better stall this? Tell me, in your heart of hearts, do you think a governor in a wheelchair has never been rolled to an edge by some sort of group or people or intermediary and was told, this is how the cow's going to eat the cabbage? I think that they love the fact he's in a wheelchair.
None of that's off the table from what I've seen.
Thank you. So you're saying that there is at least some sort of chance, and you're a rational person. I think you're a wonderful person. I think you have a wonderful organization, and I respect what you have to say, because you reach out altruistically, unbiasedly, and you allow conversations that need to be had and with the time that we have left, they need to be expounded upon. And Abbott, I feel he's someone that's going to ride the fence. He's going to do just enough so we get off his ass. I mean, he did, after all, go to the World Economic Forum. There's Abbott. He can easily be exterminated. And also, too, one thing I'll tell you about Abbott is, when that tree fell on him, and made him paralyzed from the waist down, he turns around and passes one of the biggest tort reforms in this nation's history. So, I mean, look, I praise him when he does good, but we also have to know that these guys, if they can get away with it, they're going to do the least amount of as possible. A lot of these guys that are on America First. So, I mean, if we pressure Abbott, yeah, but also, too, keep in mind, I mean, big tech has moved into Austin. Google, Apple, they're all there now, Tell me that they don't hire out. Has anyone seen the movie, or have you ever heard of the movie called Michael Clayton? It's a 2007 movie about basically they can't use the same name as Bayer and Roundup, so they call it Up North. And just like what's that movie that I just said that embodies? They just had to call it a different name. I don't know why I can't think of it. Anyway. So what they do is they have this big firm called Up North, and they have a team that literally plays golf all day long, does whatever they want. This team rides payroll, and you don't understand, why do they keep going back to these people? How are they employees if they're just sitting there like goofing off all day? Well, when they need someone whacked, these guys jump into action. And a lot of these big firms have these crews on payroll that they all have different job titles and all this stuff, that they're going to come and they're going to whack you when you become a problem. I promise you, Apple, Google, all these big tech, which I'm sure get lent mercenaries from the intelligence agencies, have guys that are just out, out and about, doing whatever, just would blend into a crowd. And the second they get that call, they're going to go and whack someone professionally. And that movie, Michael Clayton, 2007, was, they couldn't use, the same names and places, but that shows you, these corporations, I mean, when you get that big, and the government bails you out, it's because they're just as guilty as you, and they need you to keep going so they can keep going.
One of the biggest cognitive dissonances, logical inconsistency, I should say, that I see with Governor Abbott's border deal is this issue is actually, we're going on year number 4 of this being an issue. But we just started seeing action being taken a few months ago. That to me is very logically inconsistent with the whole premise. So I think I can give some kind of credibility to what you're saying, just from like a logical perspective. Why didn't we do this back in 2021? Because Houston, we see illegal immigrants here all the time.
I'm not saying what I'm saying is happening. I just want to say that we can't rule it out. So we do have to plan for that scenario in the spectrum of scenarios we're planning for moving forward. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I know you know this. I say that rhetorically.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about like policies and things like that.
Sure.
Based on what your experience is and based on the research that you've done.
Sure.
What are some policies, if you were to be elected day 1 or day 2, day 3, what are some bills, measures, proposals you would have kind of?
All anyone can do if we're outnumbered, or even, with Mike Johnson, just playing around in the middle ground, is all I can do is vote no against all these horrible bills. I mean, and another thing too is people need to look up this phrase is voting by proxy. All of these members of Congress, whether good or bad, I mean, they can sit and vote from their iPhone. I mean, they don't even have to go to Congress anymore. I mean, they do, to get a little FaceTime, camera time, go talk to one of the mainstream pundits sitting in the hallway on their way out. But I mean, the only thing someone can really do is voice issues. And you see, Congress doesn't have the power of enforceability. All Congress can do is bring about the issues and then have the executive branch, actually carry it out. And then should there be a problem or a conflict, the judiciary rule on it. You get what I'm saying? To make it more right, if you will. So in a system, let's just say I do get in office, which would be wonderful. All I can do is raise issues. All I can do is be a squeaky wheel. And I'm not going to sit here and be, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to. I'm not that candidate. I'm not going to sit here and promise you the moon. I'm here to tell you things are going to get 10 times worse before they get better. But guess what? They would not put up such a fight if they had complete control. They, as in the powers that shouldn't be. So all I can do is bring substance to the yearning of the people in my district that want to be free until we can actually act upon it. And it takes building that minutia and showing that we're not scared.
Interesting. Awesome. So, what would you like to leave with the voters as they go and make their decision to the ballot box? Whether in your
I'll give you a couple things to consider. Yeah, sure. Ask yourself why the billionaires are building bunkers. You know, what do they know that we don't? You know, it's a fact that, was it Sergey Brin or is it Roy Page, one of the founders of Google? He literally just stays in the South Pacific, never comes in, doesn't want to be over here anymore. You know, I mean, they just go around buying up islands, and it's like, for what? You know, these people, you know, they didn't get to where they are by being dumb. At least these big tech guys. I want people to understand that, you know, you don't think like the enemy, and that's why they win. Most people have a logical mind. I mean, perfect example, someone like LeBron James, he can't believe that, you know, he's being paid millions of dollars, and at the same time, they'll, you know, say, LeBron, give you and your son, take this shot, and then his son died. You get what I'm saying? Like, his son has all these problems. Like, he can't believe that he would be paid millions of dollars, but also be set for extinction. So people have to understand that we're dealing with a suicide cult. We're dealing with people that have thought 10 steps past you. But what they can't deal with is truth. So get out, show your ID, vote.
Okay, awesome. So thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being with us today. Thanks for sharing these interesting insights.
Well, look, thank you for the opportunity. You're going to be persecuted if this agenda, you know, can't get foothold. So, I mean, it's coming for all of us. So do things while you can.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, it was awesome having you on again. I remember having an awesome conversation last time. Awesome having this conversation. It's like a brain turner, you know, like some of these things, people don't talk about this enough because of that feedback that you were, what was the word you used?
There's just artificial feedback everywhere. The thing is people aren't even going to have the luxury of waking up at their own speed if we can't have this election. So it's like, I understand the point you're making, but that would reign true in a world where, you know, you could still ignore politics to an extent, or the election was, you know, maybe a decade out. This is all going to go down, and we only have one chance at trying to right all these wrongs to even start the work November 5th. And if we can't, you know, circumnavigate that opportunity, you know, to keep this nation sovereign and to fight for it, everything is a moot point. There's no point in staying in this country.
Mm-hmm. So last question. I know I just kind of closed it up.
No, I'm here for that.
Huh?
I'm here for that. Please, nothing's off the table.
Sure. So let's say you did not win the primary. How would you carry on the America First movement? Because that's the movement that you're
setting yourself up for another question where I turn around and ask you a question. How can anyone set themselves up with America First? How can America First continue? How can it? America gave rise to an independent businessman. You see, Trump came from the private sector. I'm sorry to go off on a jag, but I want to put some things into perspective for people. Love Trump, hate Trump, whatever, have your disagreements. This nation allowed someone like Trump, through capitalism, through a system that was screwed up and faulty, but not to the point where it was today, but still the best throughout the whole world, to get as, you know, independently wealthy as he did in the private sector, and then allowed him to run for office. Okay, and no, you could say Trump is the touchstone, is the benchmark of the richest conservative that ever wanted to do something about politics and take matters into his own hands. And so, who can even fill Trump? Like, okay, let's just say Trump loses. We don't get another chance to step up to the plate to even try and bat. I mean, who has the money Trump does? Who's going to step up, you know, once they start jailing dissidents and every, you know, censorship is just 20 times worse than it is now. You know, I mean, the only reason we can still speak out somewhat is because Trump is the force that the powers that shouldn't be are dealing with now. You know, I mean, there's no building up the minutia to even become another beachhead populist movement like Trump, Reagan, Kennedy, anything ever again after this. And if someone thinks that there is, please put together a logical report. Let's hash it out. But I mean, that's why they're fighting tooth and nail, because it's either the death blow to us or the death blow to them. So, I mean, time is of the essence.
Okay. So thank you again, sir, for joining us. It was awesome having this discussion.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm always here for you in the political lens. Glad to see your show expanding. Call me anytime.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So with all that being said, I'll leave any information to Mr. Zan John in the description of this video. You can go ahead and look that up. He's running for Congress. What district?
3rd District of Louisiana.
Congress, 3rd District of Louisiana. So go ahead and look it up. Make your decision at that ballot box. Hopefully this video is informative and helps you make your decision. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
All right. Later, bub.